Hey Emma,
Yes, Madeline.
what do you call it when you only play one out of every two turns on a particular spinner based board game?
Gosh, I don't know.
Half-Life! Hello, and welcome to another episode of Talk This.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
I'm one of your hosts, Madeline,
I'm your other host, Emma.
and here we are, talking at you again here on a Sunday, I guess, afternoon. Thanks for
Yeah.
tuning in. We're happy to talk this with you. So we've got some pretty good games coming up this week.
Yeah, we do. For our old game, we're talking about Half-Life.
One of the most significant games ever.
Yeah, there you go. And for our new game, we're talking about Miitomo.
One of the most
Also,
significant games ever.
one of the pinnacles of gaming accomplishment.
I downloaded it today just
You
so I
did?
could
Really?
so I could work on it live on the podcast. I already had
Wow.
to take pictures of, well, I'll talk about this during that segment, but suffice it to say I'm unhappy with the Miis it has made for me based on my face.
Aw, poor Madeline.
I didn't think my face looked, I always make much cuter Miis. But we're not gonna start there. Man, what if we did? What if one week we switched it up and we started with the new game? Would there be
That would be
revolts?
crazy.
I would revolt.
But no, we're starting with Half-Life. It's a game where you watch
Yeah, wait, I
radioactive
had
material decay.
you literally just watch it decay. You sit there for millions of years to watch a Half-Life. No, I
Yeah.
did have a viewer request that we give a more in-depth summary of the games because in some of our earlier episodes we don't talk about what the game is about at all.
Yeah, well,
See
that's true.
Gravity
Yeah, we
Rush. Um, so
we tried. I feel like we did that one, but it just kept getting breaking up as we gotten off topic.
well, the problem with that episode was I still don't know what Gravity Rush is, even though you've played it in front of me. So,
Okay.
um, so Emma, do you want to try to give a summary of Half-Life?
I can try. I'm not. It's what came out
1998.
the year after I was born, so I was not
Wow.
right up on the Half-Life series when it came out.
Yeah, that's more like
But
whole life for Emma.
it's a game by Valve,
It's their
the
first game.
developers who can only count to two. Um,
Wow.
I had an interview where the Gabe Newell or one of the other Valve people said that like, oh, we're so tired of hearing that joke, and I'm like, well, you kind of brought it on yourself,
Yeah.
man.
Make a third game.
Like all of your series, like even Half-Life 2, they released it episodically, and they only released 2 episodes.
To
So,
be
like,
fair,
you brought it on yourself, man. That's all I'm saying.
there are like 10 Half-Life expansion packs and
Well,
other
that's true.
games. So to say that they only released 2 games is kind of unfair.
There's also a lot of games from other developers that came out of like Half-Life mods, which is
Yeah.
interesting.
Uh, there's one
But
that's I'd
we're
actually
supposed to be
heard
doing a
of,
summary.
but I can't remember what it was.
One's the Stanley Parable, which is probably not the one you'd actually heard of.
No, it was like Trigger something shooter. I'll look it up.
Trigger something.
Give
Okay.
a summary.
So Half-Life, you play as Dr. Gordon Freeman, who is a silent protagonist, so is really just you.
Thank God we don't want our
Um,
characters talking.
yeah. And also, it's also kind of just you because one of the notable things about Half-Life is that, like, it was one of the first sort of games to not feature cutscenes. You have control of Gordon the entire time, even though there are scripted sequences, which is sort of a good and bad thing, but we can come back to that. So essentially, like, you are a scientist or whatever at the Black Mesa Research Facility
Mesa,
in
but
New
sure.
Mexico. Mesa. Sorry. I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce things.
Black Mesa.
And they have sort of this teleportation experiment, which of course goes wrong, right? You sort of play through like a normal day with him at first, and then, you know, you get thrown into the game. So it actually creates this sort of weird effect where it opens a portal between Earth and another dimension, and alien life forms come out.
Is it pronounced Zen? Do you think?
I don't know.
X-E-N?
That's how I would say it, Zen.
Yeah, not
That's just
Xen.
how I'm used to pronouncing X's in that context.
Well, they're called the Zen.
Yeah.
And you battle them, but you also have to battle the government agents that are coming into Black Mesa to destroy anything and everything they find there, aliens and humans alike. So you'll keep your mouth shut about this disaster. So it's kind of like an Area 51 kind of research zone based thing, if you've heard of Area 51. And you battle a bunch of monsters, and hopefully you don't die very much. And eventually, like, you think you've stopped the monsters, like, you think you've done the thing on Earth to close the... Oh, is this too much? It's a 20-year-old game, right? There's no spoilers for a 20-year-old game.
Yeah.
Great. So eventually you think you've done the thing to, like, close the portal on the Earth side, but it's still open. So you find out there's this, like, master alien keeping it open on the alien side. So you have to teleport yourself to his world to defeat it. And you do. And then you have, like, the final, like, choice of the game, right? Where it's like, there's this guy you've been running into him, and he's been watching you the whole time, called the G-Man. Although apparently he's not ever called that in the game, but he's called the G-Man. And he says, oh, like, wow, you did a great job. I have another job for you. You want to take it? And so either you can take it, and he congratulates you and, like, puts you in a coma, or you say no, and you're, like, teleported to a place with a bunch of enemies, and then the game ends.
Yeah. And then Half-Life 2, just to touch on it.
20 years later.
Yeah, is 20 years later. And you, I think, come out of suspended animation, essentially, right? Or something similar to it. And you sort of group up with this human resistance, with Alex Vance, who is one of the more famous sidekicks in gaming.
Well, good for him. Too bad he's never going to get
a robotic pet dog.
Too bad he's never going to get his own game. Her own.
Alex Vance is a woman.
Ah! Well, internalized misogyny.
Wow.
Here I am. Yeah. Wow. Action game characters must be men.
Yeah. No, that's part of the reason why she's sort of famous. Although there's other things that are like sort of issues. Or that some people have issues with. But I mean, it's a really old game, so there's something to be said for having like a sort of down-to-earth, relatable, non-sexualized female character. Back then.
Let's not alienate our audiences. Like, this game is not that old, you know?
Oh, I know. It kind of is. Even in the realm of gaming, 20 years is still a pretty long time.
No, that's fair. I just, I spent some time playing Galaga this week.
Yeah.
And relative to Galaga, although Galaga holds up, folks, it really does. But it's not old compared to that.
Yeah. So yeah, one of the most notable things about Half-Life is that there are no cutscenes in any of the games, right?
Which, like, bless.
So there's scripted sequences, but you're still in control of Gordon during these scripted sequences.
Mm-hmm.
Which, in some ways, you could say, oh, it's more immersive that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also seen plenty of people play Half-Life, and when there's scripted sequences, they're just sort of, like, jumping up and down because they have nothing else to do.
But
right? Like, it's basically a cutscene, except you still have control of the character. So you're just sort of running around in circles waiting for the scene.
Isn't that what you sort of do as a human being during a cutscene anyway? Like, you're sitting there, you're like hammering the X button, you're like, please let there be a moment where I can skip this cutscene. I've seen it 20 times.
Well, if you play the older games, sure.
Yeah.
But newer games, like, usually you don't get put back in the middle of a cutscene. You just get put back where you died. Right?
I'm sorry.
So I feel like that's not an issue as much anymore.
My
or
formative
there's
gaming
really easy ways to skip scenes now.
Yes, but my formative gaming experience was Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
And fighting Riku and fighting the dragon over and over and
Really just
over
the dragon.
again. That's true. Riku a little, Maleficent's dragon 20,000 times.
Yeah.
I can't remember it off the top of my head right now, that scene, which is sad because I'm sure it's burned in there. But it's like, if somebody gave me the first line, like, I'd be able to do it.
Yeah. But to be fair, I'm not talking about when you have to watch a cutscene again. I'm talking about just like the first time you go through.
No, that's fair.
Really, I feel like when the first time you go through, there's sort of a perception shift when there's a cutscene where you're like, oh, I'm supposed to watch and pay attention to this. Okay.
Yeah.
But if you never switch out of being the character in control, you're kind of like, why aren't we doing something while this is happening? I'm just jumping up and down, watching these people talk.
That's fair. Wow, Emma has no patience at all.
I mean, I think it's fine as long as you always give the player something they're supposed to be doing while people are talking, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Like when there's places to go, things to look at, all that sort of stuff, and you're also talking, that's fine. That makes sense. But sometimes you're just in control and you're just, like, you can't go anywhere until the people finish talking. So why does it matter if you're in control or not? But that gets into the whole, people who think cutscenes make games too much like movies or whatever.
Oh, man. Are we going to talk about that?
I don't know.
Didn't we already rant? We've already... Check out last week's side quests for our feelings about the value of story in games.
Not story. I'm talking just about cutscenes.
Oh. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with there being some stuff in there that's a little bit like a movie? Video games are not like movies. But it doesn't mean, I don't consider, like, watching Netflix to be like a video game because I have to, on the, I'm doing it on my Xbox or on my PlayStation or whatever, because I have to use the controller to, like, select the movie I want to watch and to change the volume,
Mm-hmm.
It's like, just because I interact with my television in choosing something does not make it a video game. And just because there are things in the video game that I'm meant to watch, because video games are kind of a visual medium, doesn't make it, oh, this is a movie.
Yeah. I think there's something to be said. Like, I think there's ways to further push the medium than including a lot of cutscenes. I don't know if that's really taking video games anywhere, but I don't think that it intrinsically makes a bad game if they happen to use cutscenes, as long as the cutscenes serve a purpose and aren't over excessive,
Whatever happened...
If I'm playing a 6-hour game and there's like 3 hours of cutscenes, that would be a little much. But
Hey, whatever happened with the actors' strike or negotiations?
I'm not sure, actually.
Did anything ever come of that? It kind of disappeared.
Well, it probably didn't disappear. That's just how news works.
Well, it disappeared. I never heard the resolution of that issue, which makes me, it's interesting, right? Because it seemed like they really were ready to strike.
The latest news I see is from 2017, which says video game voice actor strike now second longest in SAG history.
Oh, wow. So they are striking.
As of January.
And I've heard nothing about it, so that seems to bode well. Keep it up, guys. Woo! Proud of you. Can't wait to see when this affects all those cutscenes. We've got crappy actors doing them.
Well, I don't think you can do that anymore.
Do what? Crappy
You
actors in cutscenes?
Yeah.
Fine. Can't
People
wait
won't get your game. See Mass Effect Andromeda. Although I'm sure a lot of people still bought that, but like the big issue with it is the cutscenes.
Well, never mind.
As well
Can't
as the
wait
fact that it's just entirely broken. But, putting that aside.
and
Let's come back to Half-Life now. But it's both sci-fi.
Emma is like ready.
Stop talking.
I know. Emma is ready to roll today. When you go back and edit this, you're gonna see how many times I start to say something and you just continue talking.
Well, we're just reversing the trends.
I know, that's fair. We're actually probably gonna end up seeing more games with protagonists like Dr. Gordon Freeman, who say nothing. That's probably the easier way to go.
I think that's going backwards, though.
Yeah, well,
There were silent protagonists back in the day because there wasn't enough game space to justify them speaking.
We have no actors, though.
Oh, well, yeah, but...
Here's a question.
That's not how it works.
Is Dr. Gordon Freeman just another reincarnation of Link?
No.
Why
I see what
not?
you're doing. He's also a silent protagonist. Wow.
You could never
They
know.
must be connected.
It could be.
Well,
What if?
Excuse me, princess.
What if all of the silent protagonists are just Links? Wouldn't that be fun?
No.
Wow, shut down. She's just like, no.
It wouldn't be fun.
Why not?
I don't know.
See, not even a good answer.
Yeah.
Alternative fact.
Also, Half-Life
silent...
is a first-person shooter, which I could never picture Link doing first-person
But
shooting.
there is, if you read the trivia section on the Legend of Zelda on our website, you would know that there is a Legend of Zelda first-person shooter. It's called Half-Life.
Third-person shooter. It's not Half-Life. It's not called Half-Life.
No, it's like Link's crossbow training or something.
I do remember that now.
Yeah. Wow. It's as if Emma's not just a talk this buff.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm slacking. What can I say?
Yeah. No, you're not. You're just leading a Half-Life.
But in my humble opinion, first-person shooters are awful.
Wow, it's bold.
They're not awful. I can't wrap my head around first-person shooters. I can't get the controls.
Yeah.
It feels like you have no peripheral vision in a first-person shooter, which isn't true in real life. But I can never see where I'm going, and I do a lot of running backwards and stuff.
At least I read that in Half-Life.
I've only played like 2, but okay. You've read that in Half-Life.
I've read that in Half-Life, they really made an effort that you don't just, like, accidentally walk into danger. Like, there's, like, a sound or something. Like, I feel like that's my problem most of the time. It'll be like, oh, like, didn't even realize there was somebody there, and now I'm standing on them as they shoot me.
Yeah.
It's just interesting that, like, I feel like a lot of sort of story advance... I mean, Half-Life was a huge sort of advance in, like, story and what gaming could be, right? But it still has to be couched in that first-person shooter. Which, that's fine. It's just sort of like, okay, what else are you gonna do with... Like, you can make the graphics better on shooters now, and this is not true back then, but I'm now talking about, like, if you were to make, like, a Half-Life today, right?
Well, they won't.
That's true.
Stop believing in it.
They never will.
It's not going to happen.
But would it even be, like, is it even valuable for them to do it today? I feel like we've seen so many, you know, shooter games that by now must be much more advanced than Half-Life. Although, how advanced can a shooter game be, really? You know?
Well,
that are...
Portal technically is a first-person shooter, and I know how you feel about Portal, but it's not. It's a first-person shooter where you don't shoot at people necessarily.
Okay, that's fine. But just examining...
Which is also made by Valve.
Yeah, but just examining the, like, shooter sort of game concept, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how much further can that really advance?
So advance where?
Like, just to be different. Is it possible to make a shooter game that's not like any shooter game that we've seen before at this point?
Probably.
I mean, yes, but what I'm saying is I feel like... Well, what I'm trying to say is that why do we need to put this story now, in 2017, attached to, like, boring first-person shooter that all video games are first-person shooters, you know?
No, I'm explaining a little better.
Okay. So, like, it just seems like Half-Life has got a really interesting story and an interesting concept, and, like, to be sold and to be, like, it just feels like you're hedging your bets. It's like, oh, look at this cool thing I have going on, and this cool, like, no cutscenes. But also, let's put in, like, you know, let's slap a shooter on it. And I feel like a lot of games have that. They're like, we got a story, but we need some kind of gameplay. Like, let's make it a shooter.
Yeah. I think that's definitely fair.
Not that there's anything wrong with shooters. I just think
I know
lazy.
what you mean. I don't know if that necessarily applies to Half-Life, because, like, you do have hostile alien beings, so it sort of makes sense that you have to defend yourself. But there definitely are games where sometimes it feels like, oh, they put a combat section here because otherwise we would have gotten bored. Or, you know, like, it's just there because there hasn't been one in a while. Or sometimes I was reading about this concept that I'm sure a lot of people have maybe heard of at one point or another, called ludonarrative dissonance, where the gameplay and the narrative don't mesh up well.
Yeah.
You know, like, it might be a game... I think I was reading it in context to a game Max Payne 3, where it's a game about struggling alcoholics in recovery if you watch the cutscenes. Or if you play the game, it's a game about shooting people in really brutal ways. You know? So
that's awful.
So there's that concept that comes into video games.
Yeah. I'm not saying that it's not appropriate for Half-Life to be a shooter. I'm just saying that now, with 20 years of shooters between this and Half-Life, even if they made a Half-Life 3, and, like, of course people would buy it because it's Half-Life 3, but how original could that really be anymore? Shooter with a story.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's interesting.
Yeah.
And how far we've come, hopefully. Yeah. But also how not far we've come.
Maybe they could make a Half-Life mobile social network.
Oh my god, that would be a terrible idea. Let's not bring that up at the end of this episode, because that just sounds dumb.
Call me, Valve. This is the future.
Alright, so as Emma cleanly transitioned there.
I'm just saying it's a possibility.
It is a possibility. Miitomo, which I didn't think I had heard of, but I'm pretty sure that I saw people playing on it last year when it was popular. Because
it really was popular.
Yeah, I didn't think I'd heard of it, but then I believe. Unless I'm thinking of a different Ask Questions to Your Me's game.
I don't think that you are.
Yeah.
Just a hunch.
So Miitomo came out last year, right?
Yeah.
And it takes, like, everyone's favorite part of the Nintendo Wii, which is making Miis. And
is that someone's not favorite part? Because you're wrong.
It's so fun.
I love making the Miis.
And you're never really very successful in making it look like you, and their heads are huge, but you can make big, tall, fat ones, and it's great.
Yeah.
and midgets and Disney characters. The me's and we's are fun. That's really the high point of that system. But anyway, it takes that like me making capability and it brings it to our social network obsessed world. It's where so it's like you like make a me, and then I don't really understand what happens after that.
You like get asked questions.
Yeah.
You answer them, and then you see your friends' answers to those questions. And you take photos, and sometimes you hang out with your friends, and there's some mini games.
So I just downloaded Miitomo just for this episode, and so maybe I'll go through it live as we talk, and give you live updates on this. Okay, so I'm currently gonna have it. Oh my god, these are terrible things in my face.
What?
Okay, so what I'm doing is basically, so to make a me, either you can do it like you do it on the Wii by scratch and like pick head shape and pick whatever, or, oh my god, it's taking photos of my ceiling, so that's good. Wow, some of these are real bad because they're of my ceiling. But like basically it's like you can say like, okay, like hold the phone up to your face and it'll take a picture and it'll make a me face out of your face. So let's see, which one am I gonna pick? I don't really like any of these. Oh my god. This is what my ceiling looks like.
Wow, that's cute. You should use that one.
I'm not gonna use that one.
It's just a blank brown face with lips.
It's like really bad. I'll post it on our social media. It thinks I look much more like interesting than I do. Okay, I'm gonna pick a face. I don't know. I mean, it's fun to play with, but I don't understand why they ever thought that this would be something that would last long term. You know? Because people have, like, completely migrated away from it. Nintendo does not have like, a good track record with that. And I realized that Nintendo didn't really make Pokemon Go, like, but they just licensed it.
Didn't.
But still, oh my god, this takes way too long. Nickname, Madelyn, pronunciation. How do I...
Madelyn.
Wait, I'll play it. No, it didn't play. Okay, well, I'm struggling. I'm struggling with this game. Oh, listen, like, it'll... Okay. I'm sorry. I'm very dumb. This is probably, like, not how I should be operating this podcast, but whatever.
But Miitomo was actually really popular when it first came out. It got, like, 10 million downloads or something. I don't know. It was a lot. It surpassed Snapchat for a while in the App Store. So
wow.
Yeah.
So it tells me that I am independent, creative, self-reliant, and a little reserved, comfortable doing their own thing and thinking outside the box, and that I'm an artist. How did it know all this?
Wow. How smart.
Yeah. Am I ready to start Miitomo? Heck yeah.
Yes. Hecky to the yes.
Oh, wow. They were going to say hecky to the yucky. Wow, I'm walking in.
That's better.
Guys, I'm walking in.
Hecky to the yucky.
I'm thinking.
You're
this
thinking?
This isn't like a let's play of Miitomo with me. Madelyn, so glad to be home. Oh, hi. Wow. How'd you get in? Oh, you're me. Or I'm you.
That's weird.
Same thing. So you know I'm Madelyn, right? Anyway, welcome to Miitomo. Okay, it's just giving me... Oh, be sure to add some friends.
I don't have any friends.
Wow, rude. Because having fun with friends is what Miitomo is all about. Look, this is what I look like.
You look a little weird.
Yeah, I know. It's not really what my face looks like.
Your eyes are very far up on your head.
Okay, I don't know.
You're missing your giant forehead, Madelyn.
Well, I have to give my friends something to talk about. What's my favorite food? What is my favorite food?
Salad. Lettuce.
That's not true. I like sweet potatoes. I can
Zoodles.
attach an image. Select a me photo. Wow, I literally don't know what to do. But okay, I'll just say sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes, the best, says Madeline. It's true. I say that all the time. Yeah. If only I got coins every time I answered a question. Here Madeline says, I feel like I'm starting to know you, myself, a lot better now.
This is really deep.
Yeah.
What is ourselves?
Whoa.
Who are we?
Gotta get resident gaming philosophy expert on the show. Wow, she's gonna share my answers with everyone I choose to add as a friend. What if I don't want everyone to see every answer?
I think you have to pay to see people's answers, so. In your little candy currency or whatever.
Ha! I'll bring back all sorts of stuff I bet you don't know about your friends. Says me, Madeline.
Okay.
What? Wow,
you don't know your friend's favorite
She's
food.
giving me a little something to start the celebration of to celebrate the start of our Miitomo adventure. Wow,
what is it?
2,500 Miitomo coins.
Wow,
I'm rich. Oh, she's really looking forward to hang out with me. I love hanging out with me. Wow.
But Miitomo is a freemium game. Is the technical term. Because you download it for free and you can get some resources by just playing the game. But to really sort of be able to do everything all the time, you have to pay to unlock content with real world money.
I'm sorry, I'm listening to you, but Erica from the Miitomo team has come by with a message. So continue.
Okay.
But
well, I'm just saying that just be careful before you get sucked in and you're like, I can pay $20 to
we're like
take the perfect
nodding weirdly at each other.
Isn't that how you talk to people? You don't just nod at each other.
I actually
go on like this.
That's it's a little too spot on because I do a lot of nodding at people, just to indicate that I'm like paying attention and value what they're saying. I nod a lot.
Well, that's what you're supposed to do.
But I do it a lot.
But that indicates that you're interested. That's nonverbal communication.
Wow, Emma's laying some communications major expertise down right here on the podcast.
Head nodding is nonverbal communication.
Wow, Nintendo
can only learn this in college,
Miitomo. Wow. Emma, do you have Miitomo?
I do not have Miitomo.
What?
I have Avengers Academy.
That's true.
That is my freemium game.
Wow, if I add some friends, she can give me a postal worker hat and uniform set like she's wearing now. Emma.
Oh, wow, you can work in the post office.
Wow, I wonder if... I'm going to see if Josh still has this, and then I'll add him. And I'll just
Did he have it?
Yeah, he did. That's how I saw it, but I didn't realize what I was seeing. It's just really weird. You just, listen to the Mies, say answers to questions out loud. What is your favorite food? Sweet potatoes. The souls of men.
The souls of men?
You know? Yeah. I mean, that's
what you
the kind of... I know. I made a mistake. I made a real mistake. It's kind of fun. I mean, here I am playing it instead of doing my podcast, so it's kind of fun, but I can't imagine continuing to do it. Wow. Madeline is sitting there, thinking with an exclamation point in her thought bubble, which pretty much sums up my day-to-day life. Yeah.
But,
try to take a photo.
No, that's the issue that a lot of mobile games have, is that even if they can get a lot of people to download, they can't get a lot of retention of players.
Yeah.
You know? You'll get tons of downloads, but then a month passes and only about, a quarter of those people are actually playing your game on a regular basis.
There are so many mobile games.
Yeah,
also, to become successful, you have to be a pretty simple mobile game. But the problem is you're so simple that when a new simple game comes along, we'll play the new one.
Yeah.
Is there any way to get around that, do you think?
I mean, I keep playing Avengers Academy just because, that's sort of cheating because it's sort of a fun, weird, quirky thing with characters that people like. and they're always adding new characters. Like we're on the Guardians of the Galaxy event right now, so I just got Rocket Raccoon.
Wow, that's a big one.
Yeah, wow.
I wish I could meet Rocket Raccoon on Miitomo.
But with stuff like this, I feel like they could have done it better if it was just a better system. Like it's not necessarily very streamlined. Which is, since it's supposed to be a social network, it should be a little easier.
It's just a boring social network, honestly. That's the problem.
Yeah.
It's.
I mean, there's this nice novelty of having the Miis, but I don't think that they've kept updating the content enough to draw people's interest. I think that's a big thing.
Yeah.
You sort of have to keep updating your content constantly. Although, I don't know, the most successful is Clash of Clans, and those ones, which I have not played, so I don't know very much about. But
doesn't that just play on, like, World of Warcraft and RuneScape and that sort of tradition, just on your phone?
I guess. I'm not entirely sure how Clash of Clans works.
I'm not either.
I just know that the company that made it, like, makes, like, millions a day, so...
I'm pretty sure it's something to the effect of those sort of fantasy action-adventure games. And that, like, there's a history of people investing way too much time in those games. And putting it on mobile does seem to be sort of the natural next step in getting people to be playing them all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But it's interesting to see the different ways that mobile developers try to make money off their games. Well, like, freemium is probably the most common.
Yeah, definitely.
The game is free, but the content is not. But one of the cleverer things, which some MMORPGs try to use, is if you can get people to subscribe and then forget that they're subscribed.
Oh, yeah.
Then even if you lose players, they still
keep paying until they remember
some income. Yeah.
That's clever.
Yeah. It's a little harder to get started with, but I feel like it guarantees a more consistent revenue stream than freemium can.
Certainly.
It's all very... Mobile development is... I mean, I guess you could say games in general are all kind of very jaded, or even the entertainment business in general. But I feel like mobile exclusively, a lot of development goes into like, okay, what's the most effective game we can make that will bring in the most cash?
Well, yeah, I think mobile developing it's still it's a new medium. It's a new field. There's still and it started out kind of as, like, I feel like with a lot of sort of quote-unquote art forms, or even in video games, right? It starts out as sort of like an art form or kind of thing, right? Or sort of. Although that's not true, like arcade games. But I feel like mobile development has not gotten past the, like, commercial or pure commercial drive, or like, let's only make a game that's gonna make that a ton of money in 2 months and then we're out. You know? Yeah. I haven't seen too many super artistic mobile games yet.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're coming.
I feel like games like that, though, they just put a price on it up front, as opposed to...
But I'll be interested to see when more story-driven games hit mobile, or if they will.
Well, Telltale.
Well, I know Telltale. And that was what I was thinking of, you know, as we talked about with The Walking Dead a couple episodes ago? And they sell it episodically or in a pack. But I'm just interested to see when more of that is going to make it to mobile and beat out Bejeweled and Farmville and all
I don't know if they'll ever beat out Bejeweled. The thing about mobile gaming is it brings in a lot of people who don't play games generally. Right?
That's true.
They just play Candy Crush because it's a cool way to spend the metro ride, and they're not really necessarily interested in actually playing games. Well, not that playing Candy Crush isn't actually playing a game. It is a game, but, you know, like, playing games a lot.
But
or
man, if
consistent.
you could make like a version of Candy Crush that suddenly segs into a story-based game and pull those people
That
in,
would be weird.
well, but you'd pull those
That would
non.
be weird.
I mean, true, but you'd pull those non. Well, here's how you'd do it: you'd have Candy Crush, and then you'd have scenes about recovering drug addicts
Exactly.
or Overeaters Anonymous
That's not
or something.
at all ludonarrative dissonance.
Yeah.
No
But
way.
but no, I mean, if you could find a way to trick even like some of those non-gamer gamers on mobile into playing like a real game, you could have a real hit on your hands.
Oh yeah.
So, shall we talk mashup with Miitomo?
Half-Life 3 social network version
No.
where there's a bunch of little Gordon Freemans going around and they don't talk to anyone ever.
That's
The
not a
end.
social media. That's not a social media network.
You communicate by jumping up and down and walking around people.
No. No, Emma,
Yes.
no. Let's see. It's like, okay, so you get to create your own me of Jordan Freeman. Gordon, not Jordan. Gordon Freeman.
Jordan Freeman. Sounds like a... I don't know if I just know because Michael Jordan, but he sounds like a basketball star.
Yeah.
Jordan
Or he could
Freeman.
He could be
Takes
Gordon.
it down to the hoop.
He could be Gordon Me Man.
Gordon Me Man.
Because he's a
that's
me.
Cute.
And so he's just a little me.
Aw.
And he runs around and he answers questions about saving the world.
With ...
Yeah. I hate that. Again, we have two games that are not going to mash well at all. Because they're just completely different platforms.
You can design your own adorable avatar, and then they have to fight aliens. That's just Mass Effect.
You really need to get that social network thing in there.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a social network. You get to create your own character and answer questions, but this social network has been created 100 years in the future when we're all underwater and aliens are here.
Underwater?
Well, global warming.
Oh, yeah, true.
So, or it's just, okay. It's a social network. And so we've tricked all the non-gamer gamers into downloading it. But, in addition to being a social network, there's a game where you kill aliens.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
And, like, you get coins. If you go and play the story mode, you earn coins. You can ask and listen to more questions in the social network version.
This is some narrative dissonance here.
Shut up.
That's a fun phrase. I'm sorry. No, it's just like...
You have to build a network of friends on your social network, and together, you fight the aliens. While asking each other questions about yourselves.
And taking photos of your epic feats.
That's just Final Fantasy.
Except it's just funny. No, photo mode is in everything. But that's part of Miitomo, is taking photos of your Mii's doing stuff. But no, you have to take photos of your Mii's failing at fighting the aliens.
No, see, the thing of the game, because, like, there's no cutscenes, right? And then nothing ever stops in Half-Life. So, like, you never stop doing the social network function. You're always asking each other questions. You're just also playing this game. We'll call it Me Life.
Me Life?
Yeah. Because, like, where do the...
Meef.
Nope. It's like, what world do the Miis live in anyway? We don't know. They could live in a dystopia.
Miiverse.
Yeah, the Miiverse. Fine. But no, really, we don't know. The Miis come and they interact with us. They, like, bounce down out of the sky. Where do they come from? Find out in Me Life. Starring Gordon Me Man.
You're like, it's like a me version of Half-Life, and you're just the normal citizens of the world who sort of worship at the altar of Gordon Freeman. And you have to ask each other questions about his heroics.
I think we've got some good mods here of Half-Life.
No, it's just one thing about Half-Life 2 is that everyone somehow knows who you are. You just walk around and they're like, oh, you're Gordon Freeman. Oh, it's Gordon Freeman. It's like, how do you know?
Oh man.
But that's you're those people.
Well, I love that. We'll release it as an official Half-Life mod, and Nintendo will sue us, and it'll be great. Good publicity for the podcast.
That's great. Yeah. All publicity is good publicity.
Except when you're getting sued for creating Mead Life. So on that note,
we're really creative.
Well, I am an artist, says the Miitomo.
As half of a me.
Whoa.
Like just their legs.
Dude, you're just a shell of a me.
No, you just play as half of a me because and then you live half their life.
So it's like The Sims, but like half.
Yeah.
That seems good. Alright. So, this has been another episode of Talk This, and this time I'm not gonna forget to pick new games before we sign off and then have to re-record it like an hour before the podcast comes out. So this is the last remote Talk This episode.
Yeah. Probably.
Well, until the fall.
Probably not for the rest of the world.
But it's the last one for until we're the summer season. So we're very excited to be back together. Thanks for listening to us on these, kind of weird long distance Talk Thises. After next week's side quest, we'll be back with an episode featuring games we're about to pick, where we'll be in the same place. So tell us if you hear the difference. Also tell us if you hear the difference in my stress levels. Alright, do I pick old? I do, right?
You pick old.
Okay, you pick new first, thanks. I got it open. Number from 1 to 20.
I had it open.
Okay, fine.
No, we pick old first.
Fine. I picked number 6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Tetris.
Yeah, so much to talk about.
We're
Tetris.
going for really the classic here.
Yeah. All right, new game, Emma.
13.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Firewatch.
Okay.
So you can be a lonely guy, lonely block, all alone.
We are gonna have some trouble. We've been having some trouble with these game mashups, man.
No, this one will be great.
Okay. If you say so.
Yeah.
We've been going for quantity over quality in this episode.
Whatever. This has been another episode of Talk This. It's dangerous to podcast alone.
Hey, that's my line.
You didn't come in. I had to save it. You didn't pick up your cue.
I was just marveling at how quickly you said that. This has been another episode of Talk This.
As usual, check us out on Instagram and on Facebook. And, read the stuff that we post. It's all real exciting.
It is.
Check it out. I'll
to revamp some of our social media techniques so that they're a little more interesting every day. I did the Facebook. We're doing a different thing every day on Facebook now, as opposed to just twice a week.
So get on it, because Talk This, it's an exciting time to get in on the... Oh, there is one thing that I want to shout out. We hit 500 downloads.
Wow.
It's a big moment.
Kind of.
But we did hit 500...
We're growing slowly here, people. We appreciate all of your support.
Yeah, we do. We were slowly growing. We're happy with it. We're having fun. And I was really proud. Because I sort of worried that after the first 3 episodes, no one would ever listen ever again. And yet, here we still are. Still having people download our podcast. So thank you all. Continue to talk to us on social media. I'll post those photos of my me's that I have. Is that it? Is that all I have to say?
That's all we have to say.
Just kidding. One more thing. Have a nice day.